All right, let's see, what day are we on here? Today is March 6th. So we've got a file to download, product form W23. That is the file that we ended off with in class last Wednesday. And so we're just going to continue on with our example of building out the our product form. Go ahead. I did do attendance. What was the thing for attendance today? Anyone remember? It was Abigail Adams, 1784. Abigail Adams, 1784. Yeah. The file download is not working. I wonder why. Stand by. Product form W working files should be product form W23. What error do we get when we try to go there? Well, it's not found because it's not here. It means I forgot to upload it last class. Let me upload it now. Unfortunately, that will take a minute or two before it's actually available. So what I'll do is I'll review what we've done so far, and then hopefully that'll be there by the time we get to it. So in fact, if someone would just vocalize for me when they actually are able to, try every once in a while when they're actually to download that, let me know. That would be a great help to me. Well, in the meantime, we're going to review what we've done so far. Remember that our whole idea here is to build a form, some way that we can bring the data from one row onto a little bit larger screen, that we can provide some different tools for the users to enter that data and be able to do some data validation on that as well. And so here's the form that we built so far. And the idea is that, let's take a look at the code that does this part. We set up a hotkey for Control-Shift-E that would launch the form and load the data from whichever line was active when the user presses that keystroke. How did we do that? Well, to be able to make that code respond to a keystroke like that, it has to be in a general module. So we've got modules over here. We've got just a regular old general module. And inside that, we have a procedure called open_prod_info. It makes sure that our data sheet is active, and then it shows the form. And then we've assigned the shortcut key to this, right? How do we assign that? We assign that shortcut key, view, list of macros, and then we just, on the Mac, we wanted to assign the shortcut key. We went to options, and we put the shortcut key in there. So that's how we got that shortcut key assigned. But remember that when we open that form up, that it has code built onto the initialize method or the initialize event of the user form. So when the user form object receives the initialize event, it causes this code to run. And what does this do? It just checks to make sure that we're in the right range. Listen, if we're going to read the row as the active cell, if that active cell is on row 1, we don't want to be editing the titles of our columns. And so we're saying, listen, if the row number is less than 2, just make it 2. If the row number is greater than the last row that we have data in on this sheet, make it the last row that we have. Is that what it says? Oh no, if it's blank, if the value is blank, then go find the last row and put it there. So we're going to get ourselves onto a valid product range. Is there a question? You got it downloaded? It's available now. Okay, so it looks like that file is available now. I don't have to keep stalling as much, but I'll give you a minute to get that downloaded and get it open. Yeah.
If we're just using the same file
Yeah, if you followed along with everything we did, then picking up where you left off is just fine. Yeah. Once we've established that we've got a valid row number, we're calling show data. But the important part to realize here is that row is a module level variable. So when I set row here, it's declared up here at the top of the module. I can access row from any of the procedures in this module. So when I call show data at the end of my initialize, then I can use row in show data to know which row I'm actually reading the data off of the sheet to be able to show into the form. Show data then says, hey, take data off of that sheet, put it into the different parts of the form. And then once the initialize is done running, including this, it will then show that form. When the user clicks save, we are then reading the data from the form, and putting it back into the worksheet. And so far, it looks like we've done a few different controls. Control-Shift-E. So we did a label control. Remember, the label control is static text. The user can't change it. You can change it through code, but the user can't change it. We did a text box. This is what's meant for the user to come in here and change something. Not 19.6 ounces anymore. It's 19.6 ounces. That's like 1 pint. The Lexol 1 point leather conditioner. And we can change who the manufacturer is. That would be kind of bad because probably Lexol is the manufacturer. And then when we say save, we'll save all those things. And looking at my saved data, I think I didn't quite get this form saved last time because my saved data didn't quite. Oh, I put this in the wrong spot. Is that right? This is, yeah, this should have been on save data. I think I kind of did this at the very end. Did we actually do this part in class? Yeah. We got that finished at the end, but it's in, what's that? The very, very last part of class. But the problem here is in my haste to get that done before we were out of time, I put it in the wrong place. Does it belong here on click? Probably belongs over in my save data, right? Because here, when we click that save button, we're gonna do some data validation. And if we don't pass the data validation that we're doing here, we're exiting out. But if we do pass this, we just wanna call save data. So this really belongs in save data. So I'm gonna move that block from CMD save click to our save data procedure. I'm gonna cut it from here. I think save data is second from the top. So I'll just come up here. There we go. And I'll paste that code here. And that will work just as well down here. I really do want all of my saving to be in here together. And I think we're ready to move on to new things. Any questions about what we had here before we're ready to dive into the next control to manage on our form? Ooh, this next one is more difficult than what we've had so far, more complex. And so let's take a look at it. And it's going to be the list box. Now, the list box can be simple, but the way we're going to be using it, it's going to be a challenge. And so here's the list box right here. The list box, remember that we talked on last Wednesday as a combo box, as being a combination between a text box that you could just type in and a list box. It has a list you can choose from. In the combo box, you can type something into it, or you can drop down and see the whole list to pick. The list box is just a list that you can pick from. And so I'm going to bring that list box in, and we're going to put this here, and this is going to be our list of promotions. So I'm going to name this list box LST promo. And maybe I don't need it quite as tall as that. We don't have that many promotions to choose from. We'll get it configured here shortly. But let me put a label on here because it's not going to be especially clear that those are promotions. So I'm going to bring a label here that just says promotion. Oops. We'll get this configured. Change the caption to be promotion. And I'm going to change the background style to be opaque, no, to be transparent. That way, if it ends up kind of overlapping something a little bit, it won't block it out. Now we fill up a list box the same way we fill up a combo box. So we're going to write a loop that's going to do this, that's going to run the add items to fill up all of our options. So let's take a look at, we probably have a list of promotions out here. Yeah, so here's we got promotions. We expect to add more promotions as we go along. But I've already got in my show data a loop that runs through and shows my departments. It's going to be really similar to this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy that loop, and we'll get this one configured, and then we'll see what's going to make it complex. So far, not complex. So when I'm showing my data, let's see, here's build the list. I'm going to change this to build the list of manufacturers. U-R-E-R-S. Then at the bottom, I'm going to say here, build, I'll paste, build the list of promotions. R equals 2, that looks great. And we're going to be iterating on column B, I think. And instead of CBO MFR, it's LST promo. Add item, again, looking at column B, and that should do it. So we copied that same code. We just changed it from E to B. So we're looking at a different column. We're writing to a different object, and that should give us the list of possible promotions. So if I was to show this now, Control-Shift-E, sure enough, I get my promotions showing here. We really don't want that scroll, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, but I think we're at enough height, at least for the data that we have right now. I'll move my save button over and down a bit, give myself one more click here. Y1, still interesting. Still not wrapping. It seems like it should be wrapping there, but anyway, I'm okay with that. Now, here's what makes it difficult. Of course, for my manufacturer, there's only one manufacturer, so I pick one of these. But for my promotions, let me close this. But for my promotions, it's possible to have multiple promotions. So here we've got, for this product right now, we've established that both promotion 1 and 4, they're both active on this right now. What is 1 and 4? I don't know. Free shipping, and there's some kind of discount. I don't know what this is, but we're really trying to get rid of it. We're going to discount it. We're going to send it to you for free. Just take it off our hands. Unfortunately, when I run this, if I select one, it unselects the others. Maybe if I hold the control key down or the shift key down or something, but no, it's like an individual select. So by default, when I set up this list box, it's a pick one experience. I got to configure it to say, no, allow it to select multiple ones. So that's a setting that we can do. Let's go ahead and make that setting first. And so I'm going to select that list box, and there's a property called multi-select. And I'm going to change there's 3 options for multi-select. Multi-select single is the default, right? You click one off, click one on, click one off, but that's it. When you click one on, it deselects the others. Let's take a look at the next choice, multi. So if I set it to the multi, so 1 instead of 0 here, now when I run it, each one of these, I'm not sure I just ran, but let's run it this way. Now when I run it, each one of these, now it's a toggle. I can turn each one on and off by clicking. So I want to select them all. I got to click them all. You can turn them on and off. Now, you're probably familiar to working with like files in like the Windows File Explorer, where you can click one, you could hold Shift, and you can click one way down below, and you can get them all. That's the next level of multi-select called extended. And that's the one I'm going to set this for. Our example would work just fine either with multi or extended. I'll change this to extended. And now we'll see that I can click one down here, and I can hold Shift and then click another one. It'll take everything between them. And then I can hold Control if I want to toggle them on and off individually. And so, however I get to where I'm allowing the user to select multiple items, now we're going to select multiple items. Now, the tough part is, if we think about our manufacturer, the value in our sheet was actually one of the values in the list box. So that made selecting it really easy. I could just set the value of the list box equal to the manufacturer. But here, this is an index number that tells me which one should be selected. Ooh. And so let's take a look about how to do this one. To see this one, we have to realize there's another property that we use to keep track of which ones of these are selected. The property of this list box is only available at runtime. This is one I don't set at design time. Because it's not available when I'm designing the form, it doesn't even show up in the list of properties. I'm going to select it here. The property is called selected. And you'll see it's not listed here, but it is available when I'm running it. So let me just write a statement in here to select the first one. We're going to have to figure out to select the right one, but let's just start by selecting the first one. So let me come to my initialize code, to my form, my show data. I've just put the list in here, and now let me mark which one is selected. Okay, so select the right promotions. Okay, so the name of my control is LST promo, and it has a property called selected. Selected is an array. It is an array that is exactly the same size as the list that's being shown in that list box. And so if there are 4 items in my list, my selected array has 4 items. This is a Boolean array. And by default, the value in each one of those is false. And so if I want to make one of these turn true, I just set the appropriate value in the array to true. This is an array, and so in parentheses, I'm going to say the one I'm interested in, number 1. And I'm going to set its value. In fact, it's an array, so it doesn't have a value property. Array is just, all it is a value at that location. And so I'm going to say that equals true. And so this is going to turn one of those to be on when the form opens. Oh, why did it? I told it to select the first one. Why did it select the second one? It's an array, and arrays start counting at 0. And so, okay, so now I've got to look at this. And to make matters even worse, my promotions start counting at what? They start counting at 1. So promotion number 1 is free shipping. So that's not terrible, because when I see a 1 here, I just need to offset that by 1 to get back up to just because the indexes are a little bit different. All right, so now I've got to look at what value is in column H of my current row, and I've got to figure out how am I going to work with that data. Any thoughts? What should we do? Because I've got to select number 0, I've got to set number 0 to true and number 3 to true because I've got the 1 and the 4 here. So I've got to get free shipping and buy one, free shipping and discount need to both be set. The number 0 and number 3. Any thoughts? You don't have to give me, don't talk to me in VBA, talk to me in English. Or Spanish. I had 3 years of Spanish 1 in high school, so I'm pretty good with Spanish. All right, there's a couple different ways that we could do it. Why don't we, now that we've learned about arrays, let's go back and revisit one of the string functions that we just took a peek at earlier, the split function. So let me go ahead and come back and we'll do this with split. All right, so I'm going to comment this out for now. Well, I'll leave it in there. And I'm just going to declare a variable right here. I'm going to declare a variable called data. And I'm going to do this one as a variant. I think this may be the first time I have declared a variable as variant in class. Variant is nice because remember, variant will behave the way you treat it. If I turn this variant, if I tell this variant to behave like an array, it will behave like an array. And so I'm going to say data is equal to, now I want to pick off whatever is in column H of my current row. So my data sheet, cells number row, column number H. This is going to be, this part right here, when I'm on row number 1, is 1, 4. What I'd like to do is I would like to now split that into an array of 1 and 4. And so I'll call the split function on it. And I'm going to split it based on the presence of a comma. Ooh, this looks a little bit weird because I'm using the comma to separate my values. And one of my values is actually a comma in quotes. And so at this point, I will have an array called data that has one element for each thing in that comma separated list that's in that cell. Well, let's see. Let me go ahead and just declare another variable here, dim x as an integer. I don't think I'm going to have more than 32,000 promotions in there. So for x equals 0 to the upper boundary of data. Let me just go ahead and print that out. Debug.print x and data sub x. So I'm expecting to see for x, I'm expecting that there will be 2 entries in this array, right? Because I've got the 1 and the 4. Let's put another one in here. Let's put 3 in here. So I'm expecting to see the values printed out 1, 4, and 3, but the indices, the value of x when I'm reading that are going to be 0, 1, and 2. So when x is 0, I should be getting the 1. When x is 1, I should be getting the 4, and when x is 2, I should be getting the 3. So that's the pairings that I should see there. Now we're not telling it to do anything with that yet, except to print them off. So I'm going to run that and just see what I get here in my immediate window. Control Shift, get on line 1, Control Shift E. Duplicate declaration in this current scope. This happens sometimes when you're like writing lines of code and you're in break mode. I didn't think I was in break mode. And unfortunately, when that happens, I've got to like close the workbook and open it again before it'll reinitialize, which I guess I'll go ahead and do. So let me save this. Close it, open it again. That's the wrong one, apparently. Maybe it's not. That's 22. I don't want 22. There it is, 23. All right, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this again. Hopefully it'll open this time. Control-Shift-E. Okay, I think I really do have a duplicate definition then. Or am I seeing data? So save data. Oh, it's the name of my worksheet. Data is the name of my sheet. That's the problem. So that's okay. I just need to change it. I just need to name it something else. So instead of data, I'm going to call it promos. I don't have a sheet called promos, do I? All right, so where I was saying data, I'm going to say change that to promos. And we'll try that. Control-Shift-E. You sound like my wife when I'm cleaning the windows. You missed a spot. Thank you. I'm starting to think I didn't enable macros when I opened it, because when I do Control-Shift-E, nothing happens. View, let me just try to run my open info. Oh, I'm in break mode. Stop. Control-Shift-E. Okay, so it came up. Hopefully that printed some stuff in the immediate window that we can see what it printed. That was painful. Here's what we printed. Yeah, 0, 1, and 2. And so we can see we have that 1, 3, and 4, the values that are in that cell. The values that are in that cell, we now have them operating independently. And so now we can use these values to change the selected property of my list box. Okay, so instead of just printing them, at this point, I'm going to say, well, I'll bring this line in because we're going to modify this line. So I'll cut this from outside of my loop and put it inside my loop. And I'm setting it to true, but which ones am I setting to true? Well, whichever I want this, but subtracted by 1. I want number 0, number 3, and number 2 to be selected. So instead of hard coding that, I'm going to come in here and just put promo sub x minus 1. Right, that's the expression that's printing the 1, 3, 4. And I want to refer to that element minus 1. Ooh. So now that should select the cells that, or select the items that are they're ready to go. So promotions 1, 4, and 3 should be selected. Oh, Control-Shift-E. So now I've got 1, 4, 1, 3, and 4 then selected here. Okay, so this was not especially simple to get that going. We had to make an array and then kind of loop across it. Show me how comfortable you're feeling with that, like getting the list box showing. 3, 3, 3.5, 3, 3, 3. Yeah, this is not 5-level stuff the first time you see it. So any question? Should we go over this a little bit more, or should we move on and just let it settle in? Oh, I thought I was on the code. Thank you. Here's the code for the promotions. And of course, because it's just a control on the form, the user can now, the user ready to change this and set it. Now we need to read that list box when the user is done and save the data appropriately. Oh, in fact, we should probably do one more thing here. Let's look at what would be a problem, kind of a common thing. I might expect a user to come in here and put spaces after the commas. That's a normal way to see a comma-separated list. And this is going to cause me a problem. What's the problem this is going to cause? I'm splitting it on the commas, and now I don't have a 3 in my last spot in that array. I've got a space 3. Is space 3, can I convert a space 3 into a number? I don't think so. Let me find out. I'm not entirely positive. What if I had space 3 and I tried to add on to it a 2? Oh, it does. Yeah. So maybe we won't have to worry about it. I'm going to go ahead and open this and see if it does okay still. Control Shift E. Yeah, it still likes it okay. So even with that space on the front, VBA is looking at it and saying, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Space 3, I can make that into a 3. The philosophy of the language, right? Try to figure out what you meant, even if strictly doesn't make sense to say take a string and use that as an index for an array. Okay. Now let's worry about writing the data back out to the worksheet. So let's go find our save data. And here, let's save the promotions. All right, anyone want to talk me through what we're going to do on this one? Any thoughts? Want to give me how I might get started or how I might think about what I've got to do? What are my steps I'm going to have to do here? Go ahead. Yeah, I'm going to have to look through every single item in that selected array and find out if it's true or false. If it's false, I don't need to do anything. But if it's true, I got to keep track of the index number for that promotion. So I'm going to have to look across that whole array. So I'm going to go ahead and dim x as an integer here for x equals 0 to the upper boundary of, oh, let me introduce you to another property that a list box has. Asking for the upper boundary of the selected array would work, but the list box has a property called list count. I think it's called list count. So let's refer to it so I can just give you some experience with that. So me.lstpromo.listCount. And so this will tell me how many items are in that list. And the list is actually an array property that holds all the items. It's just exactly the same size as selected. So if the list count is 5, what do I want my loop to go through? I want it to go from 0 to 4. I want to go across the 5 indices, 0 through 4. So I'll just subtract 1 off of that. I certainly could have gotten to the same number with lstpromo.list.selected and ask for the upper boundary of that. But you see that either one of those gets me to the same number. Next. Now, let me just do this. We'll do a debug.print here to get started. I'm going to print X, and I'm going to print promo.selected sub X. lstpromo.selected sub X. So that should now print through however many items I have in my list of promotions and true or false for each one if it's selected. I'm just going to go ahead and run that, make sure that we're getting what we think we should be getting. I'm just going to select, I'll just select 2 and 3. Yeah, so it went through all 4 of them. I think I'm going to clear that off and try it again. In fact, I'm going to go clear off the debug printing that I was doing in the show data. Just turn this one off so it's not confusing me in the immediate window. I'm going to save 2 and 3. Yeah, there we go. So it's going through all four of them, 0, 1, 2, 3. And the first one, not selected. Numbers 2 and 3 were selected, and number 4 is not selected. So I'm now going to look at this expression and just say, if that's true, then I need to keep track of the index that I'm trying to put into my list of promotions. So I'm also going to need to have something to keep track of that. So let me dim temp as a string. Now, instead of printing this, I'm just going to say, if this is equal to true, then I'll do something. And what am I going to do? I'm just going to add the index number into this temp string that I'm building up. I'm going to say temp is equal to what it used to be, concatenated with a comma, concatenated with the number I'm trying to put in here. Now, when x is 0, my promotion number is 1. So I'm going to concatenate onto this x plus 1. Because I'm not quite sure which happens first, the addition or the concatenation. I suspect it's the addition. I'm going to make that explicit. So temp is going to start off as a 0-length string. The first time that I see one that's selected, I'm going to say my new value for temp is going to be the old value, 0-length string, and a comma, and my new value. It's going to be a little bit strange because I'm going to get a comma at the very beginning that I don't really want. But that's okay. We'll take care of that. Let me go ahead and just print temp at the end here. And we'll give it a go again. I'll select 2 and 3. Save. And yeah, it printed 2 and 3. We just got that leading comma. The leading comma is a breeze to get rid of because the mid function, if I say mid of some string, starting at the second character, and I don't tell it how many to take, it'll just start that second character and take the rest. So I'll chop off the first character really easily. So now, once I've done with that, I just have to write that back to the proper cell. So I am going to say that the cell I'm interested in, which is column H, is going to equal the mid of temp beginning at the second character. And that should do it. Let's give it a shot. Control-Shift-E. I'm going to change that to be just 2 and 3. And now it's changed it to just 2 and 3. This one should start with 2 in it. I'm going to make it everything but 2. So I should get 1, 3, and 4. I'm getting 1, 3, and 4. That's delightful. So there's my block of code that saves the promotions. Well, if you were at 3 before we did the saving, did that make it worse or better? Where are you now on this? I'm assuming people going to a lot of 3s still there. A lot of folks too shy to come to the polls. Folks coming to 4. All right. Now, one of the things that's interesting about these promotions is that one of them is a discount. Now, there's several ways that we could do this. One approach would be to say, listen, let's just make the different various discounts could be different promotions. 10% discount, 12% discount, 20% discount, 50% discount. We're really trying to get rid of it, 90% discount. Or we could say, listen, if you've selected discount, then we want to appear a place for you to enter what the discount should be. And that's the approach that we're going to take here. And so if we actually get the discount then chosen, we want that to show up. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a place to put that discount in. And I'm going to do that by coming back to my code. I'll look at my form. Maybe we'll just put a discount right over here. So I'll copy this label, call it discount %. Oops. Change the caption to be discount %. And I'll use a different kind of control to go in here. So the control I'm going to use is the spin button. That's what I want. I think it's a spin button. That's not it. I'm pretty sure I have access to this control here. There's one that will let me to choose a number, and it will kind of let me arrow it up. I think it is a spin button. Why does that look weird? Does it have a property to change the orientation? I'm used to this being vertical, that I can choose to make it go up and down. Orientation, vertical. Oh, it's probably because I made it wide. Ah, okay. So I'm going to use a spin button in combination with a text box. We'll also bring in Let's go ahead and get it working with the text box first. And if we have time, we'll add the spin button onto it. So I'll bring in a text box for the %. And I will be referring to this one through code. So this one I'll call txt %. Maybe I'll call it txt discount. And now I'm going to set these two, by default, I'm going to set these to be invisible. So I'm going to set the visibility property of these to false. Fortunately, they don't disappear in the design time. But when I show this form, those will not be visible. Control-Shift-E. There's room for them there, but they're not there. Now, we have a couple of different ways that we could decide to show those. We could decide to show those if it's promotion number 4. Like if it's promotion number 4, that's discount. Or we could say if the promotion actually says discount. Which one should we do? Which one do you think is safer? Do you care? Press down, pick one, and we'll do it. I think I like using the word discount better because the only way we're controlling how these things appear is the order that they are here. But the truth is, if we change what discount for, the label that goes with it, the rest of our data is really going to be in trouble. But let's just go ahead and go based on the label. So if it says discount, we're going to go ahead and show it. So let's come back to where we're initializing our data, because we need to show that if it is, if we have that one, if our discount is shown. So here's where we're making them true. And let's just look and see if the corresponding entry says discount. So I'll have some if statement. And if that is the case, I'm going to change both of those, their visible property, to be true. Oh, only one have I given a name to. Let's do the one that I've named. txt, I forget what it's called, me.txt discount dot visible equals true. And let me go name the other one, the label for my discount. So I haven't actually named it that yet, but I will in a minute. LBL discount dot visible equals true. Let me go name that properly so that it will actually get changed. LBL discount. All right, so now we've got code that's ready to show those when the condition is correct. Now, here I'm looking at the selected array. Is this show data? Yeah. Okay, so right, we've just turned one on, and because we've just set one to true, we're going to check to see if it's the right one. So how can I tell if it says discount? I'm just going to go look at the label of the one that we're talking about. So LST promo, it has a property called list, which is an array, just like selected, that actually holds the names of the items in the list. And whichever place I'm looking to see if that was selected, that's where I want to look to see if that place in the list array is equal to discount. So when I look at my form, I can see the array right here. Like this is my list array. This is number 0, number 1, 2, and 3. Now, discount wasn't selected, so that didn't show. But let's go ahead and put it in here. I guess I could have put it in there from the form. And Control-Shift-E again. And now, because discount is selected, this part now shows. I'm going to make it so that's the only one there. Show it again. And that discount is showing. Okay, so now we've got the discount there, and you'll notice that our discount percent is this column I. So we need to go ahead and fill that value in for the discount percent as well. So let's get that going in. In fact, I've got this as a percent. Let me go ahead and just move this. I'm going to make these percents instead of decimals. Got 10, 30, 70. That should be enough. All right, well, getting the discount in is just exactly the same as getting the product name in. So let me just go find the code for my product name. And we'll copy that down for the, in fact, I'll just put it right here next to it. So here's, I'll label this one. This is my discount percent. So it's txt discount. Going to equal whatever is on my current row in column I. So now when that shows up, it'll have the right value in it. So my 10% is there. The 30% is there. Of course, if the user changes this to 35%, we need to save it. Again, saving this part's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and get that in place. And then we've got one more thing to do. So let me go find my, in fact, I'll just copy the discount line down to my save and reverse it. And that'll get it, of course, now that we're ready to save. But what's the problem in usability with this form now? This one's not so bad, but what if I'm here and I decide, you know what, I'd like to put a discount on this one. Control-Shift-E. You know what, I'd like to put a discount on that. There's no place to put the discount. What are we going to do? Any thoughts? It's going to deal with stuff that we've already talked about. We probably haven't talked about this particular one, but this kind of thing we've talked about. We're going to need some code to run to show that, to show my little discount box whenever the user selects discount. So I'm going to need a combination of two things. What are they? Combination of an event and an object. So when a particular object receives a particular event, I'm going to want to run some code to be able to check to see, do I need to take care of that at this point? And so let's go ahead and take a look. It's probably going to be, the object is going to be my list box. Let's take a look at what the different possible events are for that list box. I'm going to select this and just kind of look at my, double click this, and I'll look at my possible items here. I've got after update, that looks encouraging. Oh, I've got change, click. There's several of these that look like they might do okay. I think I like change. Let's take a look at change. Let me just see if I can figure out when this change one is executing. I'm going to do a debug.print of now in here so I can see it printing. And I'll bring that up, Control-Shift-E. So it looks like it changed when we set it there. Oh, that's nice. And yeah, each time I'm clicking a different one, it's triggering it. So I think the change event's a pretty good choice. Now, the difficult thing here is I've got to know if my discount is selected. So I think every time it changes, I'm going to have to scan through it and see, is discount selected? So let me go ahead and tackle that. Now, we're doing that already when we show the data. Set the correct promotions. So we're looping across. We're doing two things here. We're actually setting it to be selected, but now we just need to check to see if it is selected. So this loop's going to be really similar. So I'll take this loop and I'm going to take it over to my change. So what was it? That was LST promo change. And whenever it changes, we have a variable X here as well. We're going to loop across the whole boundary. Bound. It's really amazing to me that that code worked at all. What is promos? I mean, I wrote that, but I forgot what promos is. Oh, promos is where we split. Okay, so it's going to be, the loop's going to be a little bit different. So I want X to go from 0 to, and I want to look across everything in my list box. So LST promo dot list count -1. And now I'm going to look at LST promo dot selected. LST promo Let me think about this for just a second. I'm looking through them all, and I want to find the one that says discount. And if the one that says discount is selected, okay, so first we're going to look to see if it says discount. So if LST promo dot list sub X is equal to discount, then that's the one that we're trying to find out. That's the important one. Now here, we're going to say if it's selected. So LST promo dot selected sub X is equal to true. Then we're going to set our items to visible. Otherwise, we're going to set them to invisible. So here's a loop that's going across everything there. We're just trying to find the one that says discount. If it says discount, then we're going to look to see if that item is selected. If it is, then the selected index, the selected array at that index will be true. We're going to set these to true. Otherwise, we're going to set them to false. Now, this statement is way overly complex for what we need, because what we're saying is, whatever this expression is, like when this is true, we're going to set these to true. When this is false, we're going to set these to false. So I can just set those values to each other. So these two blocks are going to do the same thing for me. Because this is going to be either true or false. And so I will just set the visibility equal to whatever the selected. In other words, if it's selected, it'll be visible. If it's not selected, it'll be invisible. So that block of code does exactly the same thing as these two lines. I'll take the simpler approach. Oh, let's see if it works. If I said list instead of else it. So it looks like it turns off, turns on. That looks pretty good. But what happens if I have two selected? Yeah, as long as my discount is selected, when it changes, that's staying on. Here it'll come off. Judging by the silence, the lack of typing, you're not coming along with me. That's okay. Questions? We're going to do one more thing here. And it's another little bit of data validation. And that is, if the user tries to save this, they have discount selected, they've got to give me a discount. You can't give me a discount and leave this blank. You've got to give me a discount. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this loop here that's checking to see if it's selected. Let me go ahead and bring that back in, and we're going to do that on our saved, actually on our on click when we're closing. So when we click save, we're going to do some more data validation right here. So here I'm just going to say, make sure that discount is handled correctly. Okay, so we're going through here. We found discount. A note here, this means discount is selected. So if we make it into here and they've selected the discount, we want to check to make sure the discount makes sense. So there's probably a valid range for the discount. if whatever is in that cell, which is called txt discount dot value, is less than, first of all, if it's blank. If the length of that is equal to 0, then we're going to do something. What are we going to do? We're going to put a message that says, you've got to provide a discount. If discount, if item is discounted, you must provide a discount. And why don't we actually take the user to that location so they're ready to type it in if they left it out? So what am I going to say here? I'm just going to say, this is something you haven't seen yet. I'm going to say txt discount dot set focus. The set focus just says, put the insertion point or the cursor there, so if the user starts typing, that's where it's going to go. We could also check the range, right? If it's less than 0, if it's less than 1, you got to give me at least a 1% discount, then put up an appropriate message. If it's more than 99%, we're not going to let you discount 100%. We'll let you discount up to 99%, but if it's more than that, message out of range. But that's just more examples of other if statements right here. So now we'll run that and we'll call it good for today. So if this is blank and I try to save, message box, hey, you've got to provide a discount, and then watch, when I say okay here, it's going to set the focus right to there. So the user is ready to type in a 10% discount and move on. Okay, that's it for user forms. I know you're still thinking about the arrays project, but you now know enough to get started on the user forms project as well. So thanks for coming, and the TAs will be glad to help you with this stuff, as will I. Class dismissed.